Hello. Hi. This is the IBM TRIRIGA 3603, upgrading UX apps from Polymer 1 to Polymer 3 presentation. My name is Kenny Toe. I am a TRIRIGA UX developer, and today we'll go over exactly how we're going to upgrade those applications. Um, and hopefully you've already went through the, the UX framework upgrade video presentation already, so you kind of have a base understanding of why we're doing this and why we need to do this. So please check that out if you ever haven't already. And with that, we'll go ahead and get started. All right, and quote a little bit of, like of Shakespeare. So you can upgrade your applications, and also you actually don't uh, actually can stay on Polymer 1 and not upgrade, and as mentioned in the previous video. Okay, I'll go into details on how that works and what are the reasonings there. Um, so should you upgrade, right? Should you upgrade your application? And while we are upgrading our UX framework library, the Polymer, the underlying Polymer library, and everything else that goes with it, you do have the option of upgrading your UX applications to Polymer 3 or stay on Polymer 1. And it is perfectly fine if you want to stay on Polymer 1. If you do, there is absolutely nothing you would need to do as part of this, this if you take this fix pack, this upgrade. There's nothing you need to do. It was just your Polymer 1 application will still run. It will still work. Because essentially, to recap, the Polymer as part of this UX framework upgrade to Polymer 3, we actually still have the Polymer 1 code base in addition to the Polymer 3 code base. So you can choose between the Polymer 1 and Polymer 3. So Polymer 1 applications can coexist with Polymer 3 applications in the same environment. That's very important. So you can stay on Polymer 1 if you do, if you if it meets your business needs, if as part of your for your needs, um, and we will still support Polymer 1. Um, However, we did mention before in the UX framework video that new features and UX components will only be available for Polymer 3 UX applications because it is the latest and greatest version. We do encourage everybody to build new UX applications using Polymer 3. That way you don't have to worry about upgrading. You're already on Polymer 3 in your new UX applications. And then make sure, of course, make sure you upgrade your applications, Polymer 1 applications, only if it makes sense for your business needs. Um, because it is a lot of undertaking, a lot of effort, time and effort, resources to do that. So, um, if it meets your business needs and, if it's part of your plan, uh, please, take that into consideration if you want to plan to upgrade. But it's perfectly fine if you do stay on Polymer 1. All right. Assuming you haven't stopped this video or left yet, that means that you still want to learn about the upgrade process for upgrading your application. So let's go right into it. So a little bit of information. Why is this upgrade process? It's because the Polymer library upgrade has breaking changes that requires application code changes. It needs to be your application needs to be upgraded. And I will not go into detail on how exactly what those changes are. You can check out the upgrade guides, Polymer 2 and also the Polymer 3. Uh, these links from the Google Polymer Web Components team. They cover a lot of the details for all the different changes there are. High level, there are essentially a lot of the syntax. There's a lot of syntax changes, mostly to be conformant with the component spec, um, and also the ES module changes, right? the changes to use ES modules essentially. So as part of all that, there's a lot of changes to the format of the files and also the syntax. So if you want to get into to that, check those docs out. Um, as I mentioned, yeah, we are using ES 2015 modules now instead of HTML imports, right? So unfortunately, HTML imports are uh, we're not using that anymore. So that's part of big changes that we're making here. And all the web files are now JavaScript based, instead of HTML. And for the most part, we are using class-based syntax, and most of our new components. Some of the components are still using the old Polymer function, and you can still use that, but prefer if mostly you do use the class-based syntax if possible for new components. But the Polymer function is still there if you need it, but personally shouldn't use it if you don't have to. But it's there. So now you're thinking, okay, how do we do this? Because if you click on a link, there was million changes that you need to make, and your application, or you may have many applications that you need to upgrade, and that's a lot of code. The great news is that you know we've got a tool that we created. It's called tri-polymer-upgrade, and it is a Node.js application, and I have a link to that Node.js application on the npm site in the later slide. And this will take care of all the heavy lifting of upgrading. Essentially, what this tool does is it takes your existing Polymer 1 UX application code and upgrades to Polymer 3 and ready code. It's basically, for the most part, most of it will be upgraded. There may still be a few manual changes. We try to cover as many scenarios as possible for all the syntax changes and the file structure changes, but there may be some changes that we've missed. So please let us know, and we will be glad to incorporate some of the changes if into that to the tool if it if it makes sense. Um, and if and you make sure there might be still some manual changes. So most importantly, please make sure, you know, once you run this upgrade, this tool, check your code and make sure everything looks good. Test your application, of course, and then, repeat if necessary, right? It's probably, it's an iterative process. So, um, with that, we'll go to the demo. And what we'll do here in this demo is we'll take a existing Polymer 1 UX application and we'll run it through the tri-polymer-upgrade tool so that it's converted to Polymer 3. I'll go to the UX metadata and the web event metadata and show you what you need to do to make it run in the Polymer 3. Um, and then we'll push the code that we converted to the TRIRIGA server, and then we'll run an application, and make sure it works. So let's go ahead and do that. Uh, so here, I'll clear this out. All right, start from here. Okay, close that again. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to first generate a new Polymer 1 application. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use the try template Node.js tool, and we've covered this in the. You may be familiar with this. If you're not, please check out the UX UX app building wikis, and they'll go you through cover how to use that try template. Basically, that's a Node.js tool that allows you to create starter applications in Polymer 1 and Polymer 3. So check that out if you are not familiar with it. I will not go into detail, but there's links to cover that in more detail. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and create a new folder for my new application. So this is where my new application will live, or at least the code will live, the view code. And I'm gonna use try template to create a starter application. And notice, let me go ahead and I'll go ahead and show you the description for this tool. And I'm going to create a new template for starter. And there's two versions, right? There's this regular version, which is V version 1, Polymer version 1, and there's a dash V3 version, which is the Polymer 3 version. So right now, just going to use the Polymer 1 version. So it's just starter, and I'm going to name it KTT Text Need Upgrade, and the output folder is KTT Text Need Upgrade. So that generates a starter application in Polymer 1, and notice this is still an HTML file. This is an HTML file, still Polymer 1 code, and this one. Um, and you can see here, this is an HTML file that we just generated, and it has, HTML imports. It has the DOM modules, templates. Still, it's in here. It's not in JS. It's not in the new Polymer 3 syntax right now. So this is Polymer 1. It still uses Polymer 1, the Polymer function here. So a lot of, this is Polymer 1 application. So what I'm going to do is for the sake of the demo, I've already created the metadata, so I'll show that to you later. But let me go ahead and deploy this. And again, I'm using try deploy to do this. If you're not familiar with try deploy, please check out, check it out on npm, or actually we also have that information on how to install and use try deploy on the UX app building wiki, so check that out as well. I'm I'm not going to go into details on how that works, but those guides are there, and should be able to help you there and learn about try deploy. And I'm going to just go ahead and deploy this to my local environment. Oh, make sure I get the names right. Okay, all right. And because this is a Polymer 1 application, I'm not going to specify any additional parameters because it will default to version 1. And it has pushed the app, my view up to my local server, and notice this is Polymer version 1. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and log in here. So this is my local environment, and I'm going to go to Tools. I'm going to go to Web View Designer. I'm going to show you, okay, so this is the KTT Tech Need Upgrade Web View Metadata, and just notice that it has my HTML file here. You can ignore this. This is for later. You'll see that later. See why that's there later. And you can see my HTML file that I just pushed. So, and notice that it is Polymer v1 in the field. So let's go ahead and open the application. And, of course it does load up and they can make changes to it. I'll just add something so that we can denote that this is started from Polymer 1, and I'll deploy that again so that has the latest code. So it's not just some generic application that I just has started. This is the one that I just generated from. So this is This is a Polymer 1 application. As you can see, that those changes I've made are reflecting here. All right, so now that we have a Polymer 1 application, let's go ahead and run it through the tool, tri-polymer-upgrade. So tri-polymer-upgrade. So what you need to do is specify two parameters. First parameter, let me go ahead and just show you the description here. So first parameter is the directory path. In this case, would be the KTT Tech Need Upgrade, and also the output folder, so the converted directory in which the files we converted to. So what I recommend is keep that specify the view and the output folder in a separate folder for now, so that mix the code together, and once you are satisfied, with your output, then, move the code changes directly and push the code changes up to your server. So we'll kind of go through that real quick. So I'm gonna go ahead and run the application through tri-polymer-upgrade. So what I'm gonna do first is actually take get the current working directory path. And this is important because I need to specify the path to the component that I am, or the what view component that I am upgrading, the code that I'm upgrading. Yep, so that's that path with my KTTech need upgrade code. And the output folder, I'd like to, so what I'm doing is specify different folders so we can clearly see the distinction between the files. Um, and it's good to kind of separate them for now, just so we can review the code before you actually push it up to the server. So I want to put it in the output folder in the current directory I'm in. So I'm going to go ahead and execute that. So it's going to go through upgrade process here and outputs to the output folder, and it's completed. So if there are warnings, it will tell you, and there's some things you might need to do, manual changes you need to make. But please, right now it's successful with no issues. But if there are any, please follow the, the details if needed. All right, so that should be done. And let's go back to our code. And if you can see here, um, that there has been a new folder that's generated. It is KTTech, need upgrade.js, which is a new JS file that has been created, and basically it took the folder, the file of the folder that we specified, and upgrade all the contents of the files from HTML into JS. Um, and you see here, this is using the latest, syntax that I mentioned before. This is using import, importing modules, EX modules instead of using HTML imports, right? Also, we're using the Polymer function here, but for an upgrade because of upgrade from legacy code. But you can use class-based syntax as well. But we're using Polymer function here. But essentially, it's the same. Um, um, Basically, you can use either class-based or Polymer function for right now. But you can see here that it is wrapped in a Polymer function still, but it still works in Polymer 3 upgrade. Polymer 3, UX framework. But you see here, essentially, the code is the same as before. You can see here that this, the style, the templates are here. You can see that the style is here. You can see before we inserted this starter, H2 starter from Polymer 1. It is, still here as part of the upgrade process. So I didn't cheat there for a different code. This or just for the basic the starter code. This is something that we just did modify. I used that code to upgrade from it. So now that we have a JS file, um, let's go ahead and push this up to our server. So I'm going to go ahead and switch back to here. I'm going to deploy this, okay, to my local server again. So, okay. So I'm going to specify the view name and the folder, which is KTTech need upgrade. And I'm going to, because this is a Polymer 3 application, now, we're going to specify version 3. And as mentioned before, if it's Polymer version 1, you don't need to specify anything, or you can put 1, but if it's Polymer 3, that you need to specify 3. So let's do that. Oh, and then we run into an error. There looks like we can't find a view called KTTech need upgrade because the expose name does not equal something. This view name plus the Polymer version equals to 3. So that's actually expected because we actually have one step that we need to make before this will work. So when you're upgrading this application, you will need to make sure your web view component metadata is also set correctly in the Polymer v3 Polymer version field. So we need to change this from Polymer version 1 to version 3. So let's go ahead and save this. You can see it didn't push those code changes because this is still an HTML file. So I'm just going to close this for now. All right, I'm going to go back here and try it again. And this time it worked. Oops. Oh, one important thing is I should have actually moved this file over here because once you've upgraded it, you no longer need the HTML file as well, and you just need the JS files. So that's something that you'll need to do manually. And let's do that again. Let's push that. And there we go. So yeah, it now removed that HTML file because we actually erroneously uploaded that again, but it did delete it this time because it's no longer there, and it uploaded the JS file, which is our upgraded version of the Polymer 1 version. So let's go back to the metadata. Let's take a look at the files associated. And it does have a JS file and it has the old HTML file in the deleted files section, so it's been removed. And this is a V3 application. And let's go to the application and run it. And of course, it still works. So we can make some code changes to prove that it is taking the latest, the upgraded app version. So this is the upgraded version. This is the upgraded Polymer 3 version. So let's push those changes up and refresh it. And there we go. So this is the upgraded Polymer 3 version. So that is, just the application that we just, we started from Polymer 1, Polymer 1 syntax, and we ran it through the tool, tri-polymer-upgrade, and now it is a Polymer 3 application with the latest Polymer 3 syntax. It is used Polymer function, but it can be changed to class base, but it still works. As I mentioned before in a previous video, Polymer 3 function, a Polymer function. But it does have the latest changes with it's basically JS structure with import modules. And it works. It runs great. Using Polymer 3 code base. Let me switch back to PowerPoint. All right. All right. So hopefully that wasn't too bad. We took the application and we converted it, and it's working great. You know, we had a simple example, but it should work for you know uh, your application as well. And there's some additional things that you need to consider when you're upgrading. Some of these things that the tool can't automate, you know, because it's automate yet because it's these are some kind of somewhat external changes um, outside of the file. So so one thing most importantly is that there's no need for import files anymore. And what I mean by that is the try lazy. If you've seen this before, it's the try lazy dash imports HTML file, and for specific view files, there's for example, try page locate room dash imports HTML. Anything that has dash imports in it. That's something that we don't need anymore. You can manually move those imports, uh, the component imports, into the main WebView file. So you would move, for example, you would move any imports inside try page locate room imports. You would move that into try page locate room. And this was only necessary for Polymer 1, for the vulcanization. So this is not needed, no longer needed, and won't be needed for Polymer 3 or anything. Polymer 3 vulcanization or bundling. So that's something that you need to consider. That's just um, something that you'll need to consider and make sure you make manual changes too. And also something that is covered by the tool, but something that you may run into, hopefully not too often, is that as part of the Polymer 3 Polymer upgrade from Polymer 1 to Polymer 2 actually, is that content insertions have been renamed to slot insertions, so we're using the slot tag instead of content tag, and it requires a slot name. So we've automated this process, but if you're making manual changes or if you see something that's not working, please check the UX documentation page for details on these name values. We try to specify them for you and give examples. If there's anything missing, let us know. But please check that page out if there's any issues with using any insertions there. So okay, that should be there. And this, if you've watched the previous video about UX upgrade, framework upgrade, we've already covered this. But just most importantly, that's part of this application upgrade. The framework is the globalization is not supported yet. This will come in a later release. So I just want to emphasize that again. Vulcanization is not supported yet. So once you convert this application, um, we won't be able to vulcanize this yet. But we will provide a tool sometime in the near future. So for the meantime, when you're working with the application, the metadata, please set the production file name field in the WebView metadata to the same value as the development file name. So in this case, they're the same exact values in the screenshot. An additional, material you may want to cover is the first one is the link to the tri-polymer upgrade Node.js application on the npm site. So that gives you information on how to install and use the application. And also, you know, we have a wiki link here that gives you details behind the tool and what exactly are the steps that you need that the tool is actually automating. So that gives you kind of an idea of what we're doing behind the scenes, and it can give you some you know kind of basis on what it's doing there. And also the two Polymer 2 and Polymer 3 upgrade guides. Uh, there are, this basically is the basis for what we're doing here, and also it gives you details on what changes have been made in terms of, the syntax, um, to be up to the latest spec, and also, the structure changes as well, and what changes, externally, as well, to the framework. So, and that's why we're reacting to those changes and with the tool and the framework. So please check that out if you want more information and basis on why we're doing this. Feel free to Slack us on IBM TRIRIGA betas.slack.com in the UX framework channel. Go ahead and just ask us questions there, or you can also check out the UX framework forum. Go ahead and post there as well. We'll try to get back to you as soon as possible with any questions on upgrading your applications. And that concludes the presentation. Thank you.